One of the cool things about humans is that we normalize to whatever we are a part of and we adapt. If you're newer to the business or you've been in the business and you're not where you want to be, you should be talking to a team. Like, the only thing that prevents somebody from talking to a team is either the team has a bad reputation or they're letting their ego get in the way of bigger opportunities for themselves. We don't sell a service first, we're actually selling trust. And when you earn somebody's trust, you earn their business, and now you just have to deliver on the trust that they've invested in you. That's the entire business in a nutshell.
We have a special guest, Peter Chabris from the Chabris Group.
Yes, sir.
Out of Cincinnati, on the Get Above the Line podcast. And I don't know, you probably don't know this, and I don't think anyone knows this, but the term Get Above the Line came, I came and taught a class at your market center, and we were like creating the format for it. And it was originally going to be called "What Does Mojo Cost?" Because everybody
I like Get Above the Line better.
Yeah. So, and what the line represents is like, everyday life, in action and increasing what you're doing in life. Let's start with LockBox since we're talking about it.
So what is it? LockBox I guess, Bob, really, it is a pay it forward at scale. You know what? I'm not promoting brokerages. I've been at Keller Williams for a long time, and it's very much a share culture, and people pay it forward. They learn their lessons and they kind of pass it on, and that's how we all grow. And I've been lucky enough to experience a ton of growth, and felt that I owed more to the industry than what I was doing. And so LockBox is primarily, it's a give back platform. There's two components to it. The first is the weekly, what I like to call Realtor McNugget video. These are videos that I send out to everybody that subscribes to our newsletter. They're like 2 to 5 minute videos with a tip, trick, skill, a script, an objection handler. Sometimes it's agent finances, sometimes it's mindset. Just to like actionable stuff that can move people forward in their business. And then the other piece is I do a bunch of CE and non-CE, CE training and non-CE workshops here locally in Cincinnati. So the point here is to pay it forward at scale.
That's really cool. So agents sign up for that, and that link, we'll have the link for people to sign up for your newsletter.
Yeah, sign up, check it out. If they like it, that's great. If they don't, they can unsubscribe. It's no big deal. But I think it's pretty good. And the people that subscribes don't unsubscribe. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And I also noticed that you've been doing classes too. Like, how do those are connected to those videos, or?
Yeah, so I teach CE at the board, either myself or Melissa Andre, who's now doing some of this LockBox platform stuff with me. We teach locally at the Cincinnati board once per month. Yeah, CE at the board once per month. We'll hold 1 to 2 workshops or training events just at our office, the LockBox office. And then the other thing is I do teach outside of Cincinnati, and so I'm a Keller Williams University master faculty. So sometimes I just teach Keller Williams content, but I'll also go to other cities or regions where I'll teach like agent finance or listing skills, business planning clinics. I do a profitability mastermind that's pretty popular right now, given how challenging the market has been for agents over the last 14 months or so.
Yeah.
Speaking at family reunions. So, wherever the opportunity presents itself, I'll typically do it.
So as far as your team, is any of this incorporated with your team, or is your team part of this?
No, it's different. And I wanted to do that specifically because I launched a brokerage, I don't know, when was that? 7 years ago now. And so necessarily when you launch a brokerage, you recruit agents. And so between recruiting for the team and between recruiting for the brokerage, Peter Chabris is sort of associated with recruiting here in my own backyard. And so I wanted this to be a separate brand that wasn't associated with two businesses that are recruiting, to some extent, are recruiting entities. And so LockBox was the opportunity to do something in a different space and not have it be associated with the other hats that I wear.
I had the privilege of coming up and hanging out with you one day, and I really appreciate that.
It was fun.
Yeah. So how does your team stand now? It's been a while. It's probably a couple of years since I was there.
Yeah.
Like, what does your team look like?
What does it look like? Well, it depends on the day. So we are 27 agents today. At any point in time, there's 5 to 6 agents that are just getting started. So we really have a core group of 20 to 22 producing agents. Last year we closed 394 transactions. I don't know why we couldn't have found 6 more. That was a total of about 105 million in volume. And let's see, GCI was 3.1 million. What else? I exited production in 2017 when I launched the brokerage. So I've been out of production now I'm on year number 7. We recently, I kind of joke, we used to be like Navy SEALs, right? When you came in and visited us, we were Navy SEALs. There were like 6 or 7 of us cranking out 250, 300 transactions.
Yeah.
And about 3 years ago, we decided we no longer wanted to pursue that model for a couple reasons. And we went from like Navy SEALs and we swung all the way other side of the pendulum to like People's Liberation Army of China with 2 million soldiers. And that was a hot mess. So we quickly got away from that. And we've been kind of figuring out where in the middle our company is and the sort of spectrum of brokerage and Navy SEAL Team 6. And I think where we've landed is kind of like we like to consider ourselves or see ourselves as kind of like a brokerage with standards. And that's kind of how we're not a brokerage, but that's the way we kind of describe ourselves to people who are curious to learn more about what our team is like.
What's your number one source of business with your team?
Well, Sphere. It should be
Okay.
for everybody, right?
Yeah.
We're about 55% Sphere repeat and referral. Just all the relationship stuff, people that you know in some capacity. 55%, 45% is people you don't know. Pay-per-click advertising still works. And so that's our number 2 lead source. And then there's a couple other lead sources that all kind of tie for position number 3, right?
Yeah.
But those two, well, in GLS is a pretty strong, consistent lead source as well.
Man,
And
that's been really good for us. That's
oh,
been
that's cool.
The Sphere in that would be our top 2 over the past last year. It was.
What percentage of your business was GLS last year? Do you know offhand?
We closed 150 transactions, so it was a little under half of the business. So, I mean, I think a third of the business.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of Google reviews. I think there's a lot of credit to that. I don't think that we've ever maxed out on the amount of leads. I mean, it seems like I have the balance, like where it says the budget, and you can put the budget, you can set the budget to $2,000 a week, and we've never even come close. Like
We haven't either, but I also know
that's-
that we don't close. We hadn't closed that many last year, and we have over 1,600 reviews.
yeah,
So I'm curious, how many reviews do you guys have?
9/11.
No, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
9/11.
Interesting. Well,
And
good for you. That's a great lead source.
we take a pretty wide, and we cover a lot with 30 counties last year we closed in. So
Oh, wow.
That's helped us with the Google too, because you type in top real estate agent and Russell Springs, Kentucky, and it'll be me, my photo on there. So
Yeah.
the Google local services have been awesome. Now, when you say Sphere is your number one source, does that mean, are you talking about your database, or are you talking about personal relationships with the agents?
So Sphere, when I say Sphere, I mean anybody that knows your name, knows you're in real estate, and would use you or refer you if given the opportunity. So my Sphere, but the majority, it's the agents here at the company that and their spheres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where mine gets really blurred. I've had them associated with my Sphere at one point, and
Yeah.
then as we work the database, one pops back out and that doesn't get updated, the source or whatever. I mean, but the Sphere has been a big thing. Do you have
Yeah.
inside salespeople?
No, we have failed twice at that. No, we failed 3 times at that, so we don't try
Really?
that. Yeah.
Really? So the
Yeah.
agents, you round robin leads to the agents, or is it?
It depends. We have round robins. We have done like a jump ball or a Shark Tank. It just kind of depends on what we've found is different agents respond to leads differently,
Yeah,
and
that's
it depends on the chemistry of the agents that are participating in company leads. Not all of them
yeah.
do.
Okay.
So we do both.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on this year as far as real estate?
Well, I think it'll probably suck about 5% less than it did last year.
Yeah, right.
We're not out of it. There's just not enough consistent, congruent economic indicators to tell us that we're done with higher inflation. I think this last 0.5%, last 1% of inflation is going to be stubborn, right? You've got a GDP last year that grew at 3.5%, which is a lot for the largest, most industrialized country on the planet. Unemployment remains historically low at 3.6%. Government usually wants to see it more like 5%. Consumer spending continues to be hot. And we're a consumer economy. Until consumers stop spending, things don't change. And the other thing is real wages recently have increased more than prices have. And so um, with additional spending power, consumers typically buy more shit. And so
Right.
I don't think it's going to change. I mean, Greenspan did say yesterday, 2 days ago, he saw rate decreases happening in 2024. I can't imagine it's until late Q3 or Q4 before we start to see those. So I think one of the cool things about humans is that we normalize to whatever we are a part of, and we adapt. And I think a lot of people have normalized to higher interest rates, higher historically average interest rates. And so some people are buying and selling, and a lot of people that have been waiting to sell until interest rates came down, some of them won't be able to wait anymore. And so I think there'll be a little bit more inventory, hopefully, than there was last year. And I think more people have just gotten used to a higher level of interest rate, sort of from the short term. And so
Yeah.
more people will transact this year than last year, but not a ton more.
Yeah.
That's my two
We,
cents. That's my guess.
we saw 11% more listings in Lexington last month than we did the year before.
Wow, that's
That's the
amazing.
first time I've seen green. The first time I've seen green, since October of 2022, right?
That's
When
amazing.
it's, yeah, yeah.
That's
And we,
that's going to be fun.
we felt that when I did a market report last month, I felt it from the conversations, and I could see people acting a little bit different. There was a little more activity and but you couldn't see it on the market report. And this month it showed up, and I was like, see, I knew what I was talking about. But as far as long term, I mean, one thing that I learned in October of 2022, I was like going through this like moment in my life where I I didn't have life insurance at that point. I do now, and that's
Oh
what
God.
that's what
Okay.
that's what fixed my whole mode. But it was like, I'm gonna die. I have a kid. Market's going, market's going crazy. It's not going crazy. It's doing nothing. I haven't adjusted my spending as much as I should.
Yeah.
It's just one of those moments in my life where everything just started crashing down. And
Oh man.
well, first of all, when I got approved for life insurance, that was a big moment in my life. I was like, okay, they're making a 20-year bet on me. We're good, right? But the other thing is that I learned that there's, what I attached to was the positive part of it, where, and this isn't positive, people die or people move out of town or people getting relocated might be positive, but there's still transactions happening. And I'm here with my head down under a pillow, worried about the end of the world. And instead of that, it's just getting right, focused on what's happening and taking a piece of that. That was a big lesson for me over the past year or so.
I think
But
that's a great lesson.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things, especially with the election and everything coming up.
Well, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, Jason Abrams likes to say that there is less opportunity, but that doesn't mean that your opportunity is less. And once you realize, hey, it's just going to take a little bit more activity for me to do what I want to do, well, then you just do it, right? Sometimes we just have to have those moments where we stop feeling sorry for ourselves and we just say, all right, well, it's time to get into action now. It sounds like
Yes.
you figured out in October of last
And
year.
since then, we've been outpacing the market, by 5, 10, 15% some months. And it's like, like that's my responsibility to the people I work with, right? Like
100%.
that's my responsibility. Like I don't, it's not okay for me to put my head under the pillow. I can't do this. It's not
You can
acceptable.
have a
So
pity party and be afraid for an hour or two, but then you need to like accept your reality and confront it and go do something about it.
and just go do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody gets a
So
pity party. It just has to be a short one.
it has to be short. It
Yeah.
has to be real short. And it's like, but then another thing I say to Blair all the time, and Blair thinks the world of you, by the way. She's not in the office right now, or she would have stuck her head in here already.
I'm sorry I
Uh,
missed it.
yeah. Um, is that I'm like, I don't share the weight that I carry, like, and as a leader, that's just one of the things that I've attached to is like, if I'm carrying the weight, I don't expect anyone else to carry the same weight,
Hmm.
the heavyweights, the
Yeah.
ones that are really, the are really heavy. I don't expect anyone to share that weight because it doesn't make sense for them to do that,
The
like I already
heaviest
got,
weight is
pardon?
the heaviest weight is that you're responsible for everybody and no one is responsible for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And you can't share that.
No, you can't.
No.
Someone has to have that role in every organization. That's true.
Right. Right. So as far, man, I asked, I've been I do a lot with AI,
Okay.
back and forth, but I just started messing around with Microsoft's or, the Microsoft AI, what's called Pilot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's like real time.
Mm.
So in real time, I said, what's the history of the Chabris Group? And it's pretty interesting
Oh, really?
what it came up with. Yeah, it said that you've been the number one real estate team in Cincinnati since 2013.
Yeah, we're not right now, but we will be 11 months from now.
Okay. Well, I mean, it says it on the internet, so I might as well just
Sure.
run with it, right?
Yeah. But yes, by and large, we've been the number one real estate team here for over a decade. Yeah.
You went to Georgetown University.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's a
Chinese
big deal. It's a big
Mandarin
deal.
Chinese major. Yeah, it was good. It was a good school. It was an interesting time. DC is great. It's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
You studied Mandarin Chinese.
Yep. Super
And
helpful selling real estate in Cincinnati, by the way.
is it? I can
No.
imagine. No, it's
It does
not.
not. No, there's no,
Where
no.
is it? Where would a market? Where would it be?
Oh,
Are there,
well, sure. I mean, obviously in California and Washington, it would be huge.
oh,
Probably
okay.
New York City and DC maybe, but not in the Midwest. Um,
So, what were your plans with that? Like, what was that? What was the idea behind that?
I was, well, I was when I was 18, I was super into Taoism and Buddhism, and I wanted to understand why did people think this way? Like why was Eastern philosophy and value system so different from Western philosophy and value systems? So the best way to learn a culture is to learn the language. So I just started studying Chinese in college. So and then it just kind of became like a love-hate relationship. I'm pretty good at languages, but this was a really hard one. So I just wanted to be able to do it. And then um, I realized it was a good way to separate myself, differentiate myself during as you graduate and you enter the workforce. There were only 3 kids in my entire senior year that majored in Chinese, and so in Washington D.C. I had lots of interviews, and I was recruited by the CIA actually, and was going to go work for them, and didn't make past their security test. I'd been given a job offer, but didn't make it through their background check, which is kind of funny.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, so that's how I got into Chinese. Long-winded answer.
So, when you were going to school, like, it wasn't to be a real estate agent?
No, no, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to work for the government, right? That's what you do when you go to school in DC. So when I didn't get the job at the CIA, I wound up working for a defense contractor, and that was during the Clinton years. Clinton cut the budget for the military significantly, and all of these satellite companies had all of these satellites that the military no longer needed. And there was this new thing called Internet Protocol that had just started, and so all the satellites pivoted. They pivoted these satellites from Defense Department stuff to transmitting internet protocol. This is before we had all those huge cables all laid underneath all of our oceans to transmit data. And so this defense consulting practice just migrated to this new technology called internet protocol. And so I went with them and kind of got caught up in the dot-com boom and bust. And at the end of that ride, I met a girl and moved to Cincinnati, and that's when I got licensed in real estate.
Oh, wow, cool. So
Yeah.
where are you originally from?
New Jersey, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I moved to Cincinnati in 2000 and gosh, when was 9/11? Was that 2001? I can't believe I can't remember. Yeah, 9/11 was 2001, so I moved to Cincinnati 2002, got licensed in December of 2002 and started selling real estate.
Didn't know a person. You knew your wife, her family?
Knew my wife. I knew my mom. I didn't want her help, and I refused it. The first looking at it's funny. I went to training class, and they said, "Hey, always keep a buyer contract and a listing contract in your car because you never know." I said, "All right, I'll go put a buyer contract and a listing contract in my car because I'll never know." And they said, well, if you want to get business, go take listings and go knock on expired doors. And so that's what I did the next day. And there was a building downtown, a commercial property that didn't sell, and I knocked on the door, and it was a dry cleaning shop. And I said, is Mr. Arslan in? And they said, yeah, hang on a second. And the guy comes out. I was like, hey, your building didn't sell and I can sell it for you. He said, okay, did you bring paperwork with you? That's how I took my first listing.
That's amazing.
That was it.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Did you sell it?
Yes. Yeah, we did. Yep. Yeah. I overpriced it because I didn't know what I was doing, but we finally got it to where it needed to be and we sold it. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, funny story.
What is the best strategy for a new agent to get their first client?
Join a team.
What do you focus on to learn and grow?
I look for patterns in my life that are limiting my growth and identify what is the consistent source of those patterns, and will seek out books or mentors to solve for those gaps.
What are the best ways for agents to continue learning and growing?
Hang around people that challenge you. You know, the more that you feel that you can't keep up with the people around you, the more you're going to learn faster.
What can an agent do to improve their online marketing and social media presence?
Well, what can an agent do to improve their online marketing and social media presence? Be consistent. Pick something and be consistent about it.
How do you manage your time effectively?
I live and die by my calendar. And my day starts at 5, and by 9, I've pretty much already won the day.
What are some common pitfalls agents should avoid?
Social media.
Okay.
I think that social media is one of the, I feel like there is a pandemic that has been triggered by social media, and the disease is lack of confidence and constant comparison. And social media is designed to distract. And the more time that you spend on social media, the more your willpower to make an impact in your life is sapped by judgment and comparison. And that is a horrible way to live.
What is the profile of an agent who should join a team?
If you're newer to the business, or you've been in the business and you're not where you want to be, you should be talking to a team. Like, the only thing that prevents somebody from talking to a team is either the team has a bad reputation or they're letting their ego get in the way of bigger opportunities for themselves. You know, we've had people that were good agents, but not where they wanted to be. They came to our sales team and they leveled up significantly, and we ultimately parted ways. And that's okay. You know, we want them to stay forever, but the agents that should consider joining teams are the ones that are not going to let their ego get in the way of their progress.
What are some reasons agents don't join teams?
Ego is the short answer. The longer one is different teams have different value propositions. Some experienced agents' needs may not match the value proposition of some teams. Value proposition is what you get and what you pay, right? Some teams are really high on what you get and don't pay very much, and some teams pay a lot but don't give you so much. So it really depends on the team, the team's value proposition and where the agent is in their like career trajectory.
Because not all teams are built the same.
No, they're not. No, they're not. And that's okay. It's actually a good thing because different
Yeah,
teams,
right.
different people.
Yeah. What do potential buyers and sellers look for in an agent?
Well, the National Association of Realtors does a comprehensive study of buyers and sellers every single year. And the top characteristics that they always look for are like experience, reputation. Do they already know them? Are they active in the neighborhood? And the common word through all of those criteria, the common theme through all of that criteria, Bob, is trust. Can I trust this person? We don't sell a service first. We're actually selling trust. And when you earn somebody's trust, you earn their business. And now you just have to deliver on the trust that they've invested in you. That's the entire business in a nutshell.
What technology does an agent need?
Does a phone count as technology anymore?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
well, they need a phone. They probably need a credit card to take people out to coffee and lunch. And then they probably need a calendar, which is also on their phone, and some email. And I think if they really want to get fancy when they're starting, they should have some kind of a CRM, a place to organize all of their leads and their sphere and their communication with those two different sources of business. Everything else is noise until you start getting into production.
What are some strategies for competing in a saturated market?
That's a great question. Identify a target market, identify what their pain point is, come up with a unique solution for their pain point, and then figure out how to target market to that subset of people in a cost-effective way. That's the simplest way to say it.
What are some best practices for staying in contact with your past clients?
There's two battles you have to win with your sphere or past clients. They're really kind of the same thing. The first one is the marketing battle, and the second one is the communication or the relationship battle. People are inundated with advertising and marketing, especially since social media became prevalent in our lives. You got to cut through the noise. So I believe you need at least 3, preferably 4 marketing touches per month just to maintain mind share with your sphere past clients. Emails, videos, postcards still work. In fact, I think they work now better than they did in the past. So that's the marketing piece. And the other is the communication. The communication is really more about the relationship, making sure that you continue to perpetuate and preferably enrich, but at least nurture the relationship. And that's done ear to ear or face to face. And that really, as we all know, should be done at least once per quarter. You should be calling or meeting with your sphere on a one-on-one basis. It's so basic and it's still so true, and it is the most profitable, least resistance form of business in the business.
Why are some agents thriving right now with the current conditions?
There's 3 things. The first one is they have the right mindset. The second one is they've identified the right activities. And the third one is they consistently do the right activities that they identified with the right mindset. That's it. Like, that's always all it ever is.
Yeah.
I perceive the world a certain way based on my perception. I choose some actions. I get actions and I get a result. I process those results for feedback, and then I incorporate that feedback, run it back through my mindset, and do it again. And you just go like this until you figure out the right way to do it. And then you just do that over and over and over until it stops working. And then you figure out what else you have to do.
And maybe it's just that some people get out of that loop as the market changes.
Look,
they don't get the feedback as quickly.
No, the feedback is, did I get hung up on or not? Did I sign the listing or not? Did anybody show up to my open house? Did my offer get chosen in multiples? That is all direct feedback from the activities that you did or didn't do. And then all you need to do is say, well, did I like that result? Yes or no? Yes, do it again. No, what did I do wrong? How do I do differently? Let me go try again. That's all this is. And the people that are being successful in this market are the people that are successful in any market. And it's the people that understand, 1, I got to make sure my mindset is right. And number 2, I got to take action and adjust based on the results I get, and then do that over and over again. The 2 sexiest words in business are systematic and consistent. When you consistently apply a proven system of success, you have a business.
What should an agent consider before starting a team?
I would consider your motivation. And I'm speaking from experience. I started a team primarily for my ego to say, oh, I've got people. And that's a dumb thing to do because number one, you dilute your profits. Number two, you create more headaches. And number three, you're doing a disservice to anyone that aligns with you if you're not doing it for the right reasons. So don't do it for ego. Or yeah, just don't do it for ego. The only reason you should create a team is for one of two reasons. You have more business that you can handle, or number two, you are looking to buy back your time because running the most profitable business possible is no longer your number one goal. Teams are thrown around so much now. Like 20 years ago was a radical idea. Now it's just like everybody's on a team or has a team or whatever, and that's great. But I think a lot of agents incorrectly correlate success with having a team, and that's not necessarily the case. Being a successful agent means you have satisfied clients and you run a profitable business. You don't need either. To do those two things, you don't need a team. In
Right.
fact, a lot of times your customer's experience is sacrificed and your profitability absolutely is sacrificed as soon as you add more people into your mix. But there's this perception, big teams equals big money and big success. Well, the reality is not the case. The larger your team gets, the smaller your margins become. Now you have more free time and there's more levels of insulation between you and boots on the ground transactions, but that's a choice you have to make. And if you're in this business because you want to be highly profitable and you love service, don't do a team. Hire an assistant, hire a showing assistant and be done and run a highly profitable business.
It's interesting because that thought, like, over the past couple of years, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be a focus or you'd be out of business, right? Like
Yeah.
the profitability piece.
Yep.
But I actually handed my books over to a bookkeeper, and it's one streamlined out of Phoenix who does a bunch of teams across the country.
Oh, that's great. Cool.
So I can actually put in the GCI into brackets, and it'll show me the average, what people's cost to sale is, the average.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. But last year was the very first year out of 11 years that I had that. It's really interesting that I did really well, but it was like last year was probably my worst year in the history of my business.
Yeah.
And that was always what I was scared of, is it being a bad year and handing it over and having somebody else. I thought I needed to, it was
or something.
Yeah, it was but that's definitely been a thought of mine. But thinking about the team thing, and you brought up ego quite a few times, and I couldn't agree with you more. But where that's really been challenged for me, right? And what I think has really taken teams to the next level is like what Ben Kinney and those guys are doing, these big teams, because, here we talk to these agents and it's like the value proposition for my team, like I believe in it for, just about any agent, like you can plug in or you can go get your own admin and train them and see if they make it. And you can do all these things. Like if I was to do it all over again, and there was an opportunity for me to plug in and I could get past, like at that moment, I probably couldn't have gotten past it when I started my team. But now in hindsight, I look back and I say, okay, well, I would know what my expenses are every month. And I would know what my cost to sale is. You know what I mean? It would be such a different place to operate from, right? And I think that's what they're doing with these big team, with
the platforms, basically.
Yeah, with those platforms. I mean, which gives me hope for the team. Back when I started my team in Lexington, there really weren't any teams besides the legacy teams. There weren't any teams operating like that. So it was like something that I had to sell to everyone. But now to see teams that you think the ego would get in the way, plugging into that to say, okay, this is going to make me more profitable. It's going to make a better place. It's going to give my agents more opportunities. But my ego gets in the way.
It does for mine too. It's funny because I have some people who run there's some people, I've been in Gary's top agent mastermind for over 10 years now. And there are some operators in there that recently have gone to Place or Livian. These like platform shops. And So they're doing it for one of two reasons. One, they want to like offload more of running their business, which I can appreciate that, right? It comes at a huge cost in terms of splitting your profit with these platforms, which I can't perceive. Or they're actually not as successful or not as profitable
It's
as
profitable.
as as they may be, in which case it's not really about ego, it's about making some money. But I run a profitable business. I can't imagine, and I believe I have good business skills and good system skills and good management skills. I can't perceive giving up half of my income for that kind of a set of resources. Now, I'm also speaking from a place of ignorance because I've never reached out to them to see what they have to do for me, and that is ego that's driving that decision not to
Right.
communicate with them. I own that completely.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of why I open my mind. When I say I open my mind to it, like I feel like at this point in my career, like I'm not really looking to operate underneath. I'm not really looking to join a team, and that's basically, and that's how I look at it. But I do have to be open-minded enough because I want people with egos to be open-minded enough to
Yeah.
hear the opportunity that I have to share with them. And it ultimately, I think, in the terms of a team, goes back to the same thing. It's like shared expenses, like we're sharing these expenses and we're sharing the accountability. We're sharing the big goal and the big vision, and we're connected on that and being part of something.
Yeah.
And that's the part about it that I appreciate, right? Like that's the part that I think is really cool, because some of these, like we were just saying, there's some of the operators that have connected with that. You're like, what in the world? Like,
I
because
mean, there's
yeah,
also stock options. I mean, there's some other stuff going on there as incentives to do
yeah,
this. And I don't know that these big operators are splitting 50% of their profits with these platforms. So I think every deal is different. And I think there are
right,
probably some pretty special deals going on. I actually talked to a buddy of mine and said, we started this change in our team's business model about 2.5 years ago, when we're probably about 6 to 9 months out from getting to where we want to go. And then at that point in time, I'm willing to look up once I've made these changes and then say, okay, what are these platforms about? Tell me
yeah,
why I should give up half my profits. So
yeah,
it would be ignorant not to, and I think I'll go through that exercise probably second half of this year.
right, right.
Yep.
That's
So
cool. That's
yeah,
cool,
man.
man. Well, I've really appreciated your time today. I really
Yeah, thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me. It
And,
was
and I
fun.
know people are going to find value in the conversation, and I
Hope so.
appreciate the simplicity of it. Uh, I mean, because really, it is really a simple thing. It's just sometimes it's not easy to,
It's not easy and it's messy. That's the only
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
So
So thanks, man. And
yeah, it's my pleasure, Bob. Absolutely.
we'll be sure to put the link to LockBox. I think that's awesome that you do that for people and
Thank
for
you.
the agents and for the community.
Thank
That contribution.
you. And
I
this is
felt
great.
I
Huh?
felt it the day I came into your office. That contribution. I felt that when I was there, and
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate that.
I
So
appreciate this. How has this been going? You've been doing above the line for a couple of years now, right?
yeah, well, I went through some I don't know if I call it management, but I went through some restructuring. Like through this time period, October 22nd till today.
Yeah.
Originally when I called it the New Home Collective, it was so that I could go into another market. This is where my head was. I could go into another market and it never had to be about me. And I would look at you. You would be one of the people I would think about. I'd say, okay, these agents that use their name, I always felt like someone else could identify with the company and they would want to be able to run the company for me someday. That's what
Ah,
I thought. And what
okay.
I've learned is no matter what it's called, we have a mastermind and there's a bunch of agents from all over in the room.
Yeah.
They're still identifying the company with me. So if the company was my name, I was giving that away. I was giving that away. And I also gave away a lot of activities that I over leveraged myself. There were things that I handed off to other people or I relied on other people for. It's just a big awakening. I just went through a big awakening from that moment when everything slowed down until the past couple of years, I've been a real struggle, but my head's above water now. But with this now, over the past couple months, so I've had some great interviews. Like this is one of them.
Oh, great.
But I have a bunch in the hopper that haven't come out yet. Like I have some really good conversations. And I'll tell you this, there's not been one person that I've asked to have a conversation with that said no to me. Not one.
One
So
second.
what's really cool about it, but the conversation I've been having have been high level. I feel like there's a lot, especially the speed round, because it gets a lot out in one short period of time.
Yeah, I like it.
And it helps other people. Like I feel like there's a lot of tidbits in there that would be helpful to an agent, just like how you do LockBox. Well, I'm throwing LockBox into a 20 question segment that I can share with people. So that's my intention of it. My intention of it is to take what I've been able to learn and take what the people that I've been connected with, what they've learned, segment it out and share it with people in a way that it's been really helpful for me to stay on track and to keep, like how I asked you about how you've stayed consistent. Well, you're shooting 4 videos a month.
Yep.
And those topics, you probably keep notes and things are actively happening or challenges that you've seen with the agents. And, you've got a list of topics. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing that I've been doing, but it's like, I'm doing it in a way that is keeping me consistent. This keeps me consistent.
Cool.
So
I like it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's been good, but that's been the biggest challenge. The biggest change is that, like, I'm not relying on anyone else. Like that reliance. I mean, I think that I see that happen with a lot of people, just like over leveraging themselves. And there's nothing worse than when you try to call someone and they're like, it doesn't go to them and somebody else called you, set an appointment to talk to them. And all that mix up, I think in real estate has happened a lot,
Sure.
One of the best things I've done recently is I'm making phone calls again. Like I was out of production, for 2 or 3 years, 4 years. And now the very first call I made to the database, I just put a $600,000 property under contract. It was the very first call I made. I put it under contract last month. Awesome. But it's been really eye-opening to get back involved in the business, to change my thought on profitability, because to be out of production, it makes it so much more challenging.
Oh yeah. You're much less profitable when you're out of production. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So it's been going great, man. It's been going great. And having Blair in the business too, like she's like, I don't know if you know this, but she got a real estate license.
No, I didn't. That's awesome.
Yeah. So she got it last year, because she was managing the operations. When I say that, she was doing everything for the team. Yeah. And she talked to some agent out of Paris, Kentucky or something, an old broker, and he says, I don't talk to assistants. So she went and got her license, and maintain what she was doing. Well, then, I think the last quarter, the last 5 months of the year, she sold like 10 properties. Don't quote me on that, but she just off of
me at all, Bob.
Just off the overflow of what's going on, while she's taking care of all the agents stuff,
There's amazing.
She's taking care of my family, my house, my business, and selling, a couple houses a month. So she's pushing me hard. She's pushing me hard. Like we use Follow Up Boss, and there's a scorecard, phone calls and appointments, and her and I are both on it with the agents. So and she's most of the time the very top person. So it's been really cool working with her.
That's awesome. I love it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. You guys are a force together for sure.
Yeah, thanks, man. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, just let me know.
Yeah, totally. Right back at you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man.
All right, brother. You good. Take care of yourself.